All right, here we go. Right. So if you could introduce yourself, including what year you are in graduate school and what program you're in.
Sure. So my name is Courtney Wright. I am a first-year doctoral student in the counseling psychology program here at University of Kentucky. Yeah, I'm originally from New Jersey, so nowhere near here. And I am advised by Dr. Candace Hargons.
Thank you. When did you decide you wanted to go to graduate school, and how did you come to that decision?
So I don't think there was a finite point in time where I was like, yes, this is what I'm doing. I'm a first gen student, and so I was completely unaware of grad school until like maybe second semester of my freshman year in undergrad. And I was like, I hadn't considered more college after college. So, I was curious about what that would mean for me, if that'd be something I'm interested in. I did study psychology in undergrad. And so as I was going through the major, I learned more about like, okay, what do people actually need to do if they're pursuing this as a career path? Am I interested in anything else? So those sort of questions. So I saw like, I don't know if I necessarily sought mentorship, but I tried to have conversations with a lot of different people, especially professors, to hear their input or their advice of like, if I am pursuing this, what should I do? And so throughout my journey, I just tried to gather experience and start preparing for graduate school. And I would say by my senior year of undergrad, I was definitely leaning more towards it, and figured I would take like a year off, continue trying to gain, as much experience as I could to be more competitive for graduate school. And so I ended up doing a master's. And even in the master's program, I was like, I don't know, should I apply for the PhD? Like, I don't know. But I just continued talking to people. People really encouraged me, pushed me to just at least apply, apply and see. And so I feel like, so throughout all of that time, I was moving towards it, but still, had my doubts along the way. But definitely talking to people, definitely putting myself out there and trying different opportunities to help me feel more confident, like I can actually do it, helped me to make that decision and just go through with it.
Were you at UK for undergrad and the master's program?
No, so I'm originally from New Jersey, but I ended up doing my undergrad and my master's at Boston College. So that's in the Boston, Massachusetts area.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I definitely hear a lot of uncertainty when it comes to people wanting to go to grad school or not, just because of how like tedious it can be and like very challenging. But I think that whenever people make that decision to go, it's really rewarding. So you said that you did take a gap year?
Yeah, it actually ended up being 2 years. So after graduating from undergrad, I graduated in 2016. I was kind of a little bit loose with my plans. Like I didn't spend a lot of time in my senior year applying to a full-time job. I just like applied to like one job. It was a summer job. And I was like, okay. So I did the summer job and it ended. And it was kind of hard to find like full-time employment. It was hard to find a research assistant, not assistantship, a research job back in Jersey, because my network is now in Massachusetts, but I moved back home. But eventually, I did find a research internship experience as well as a full-time remote job. And so I was doing that for a while. And also you have to like apply a year in advance to whatever graduate program you're trying to do. So that's why it ended up being 2 years. But yeah, I just wanted to work, make money, get experience. But once I knew that I was going to grad school, I didn't worry that it would be a problem for me taking time off. I knew I would go back.
Right. So would you recommend to people who are considering going to like further education, would you recommend them to take a gap year or 2 or a couple months or?
I would absolutely recommend it. I know, at least in my experience, like, again, I'm first gen. My mom was really like, don't take a time off. If you take time off, you're never gonna go back. Like, look at me. And I was like, Mom, I'll be fine. I'm definitely going to go back. I know that I'm going to do that. So I feel like you have to be confident in knowing yourself of like what you're going to do. Like, are you going to be deterred by money and decide not to go back to school? But I also feel like just taking the time to reflect, to discern your options, is really important. And it's just nice to have a little bit of worldly experience outside of school. Like even now, I'm back in school, and those 2 years, it feels very small in comparison to all the schooling. Like that one time I was working full time and talking to people who weren't students. So I do feel like it's very valuable. Um, and grad school is very different than undergrad, and you need time to like transition. I don't think it should be approached the same way. So I highly recommend a minimum of 1 year
Right.
off from school before going back. But I know it ranges. Some people take 1, 2, 3, 4 years before they go. So
Okay, thank you. Let's switch over to your current experience now. In grad school, what did you expect before you went into grad school, and how has that experience aligned with your expectations?
sorry, I'm going through
Yeah. Did you
freezing
get the
situation.
question?
I heard the question.
Okay.
Um, so expectations versus reality. Like I said, I spent a lot of time talking to different people, so I felt like I had a very good insight into what to expect in terms of it's going to be rigorous. It's going to be focused. I think undergrad, it's a little bit more broad. You're engaging with a lot of different subjects and topics. You're getting like a tip of the iceberg, whereas grad school, there's a chance to go deeper. Um, so there's that. And then I think I suspect grad school looks different based on your financial situation. And so for me, I know that means I need to have a job. And for my master's program, I had 2 jobs. And so it's stressful. You want to not have a lot of debt. You want to learn as much as you can. You want to prepare for the future. And you also want to like relax and be with people and explore. And so it's hard to manage all of those things. Um, but I mean, it's possible. I would say I didn't intend to do a master's. I wanted to just go straight into a PhD program, but I honestly am so glad that I did the master's. Like, I think that really helped prepare me in a way that just going straight from undergrad probably.
Um,
And so now I feel very comfortable kind of having an understanding of what graduate school is like based on the master's program. Um, yeah, I would say my expectations and reality lined up pretty well. It's difficult, like
mhm.
it's better not to sugarcoat it. It's difficult, but it's not impossible. And I just find ways to focus on the short term because it's a long time coming. Like I'm only a first year student, so there's a long way to go.
Right. Okay, so compared to your undergraduate experience and your graduate experience now, what does like a typical day look like for you, like as a grad student?
So the differences, maybe.
Yeah, like differences or maybe similarities or
Um, I would say I think it's pretty typical for undergrad class structure to be more broken up. So maybe meeting 2 times, maybe even 3 times a week. Graduate school, very heavily, they like to do once a week. So that means you're going to be in class getting the material for a couple hours once a week. And there's pros and cons to that. I know that I took probably my first long class like that senior year of undergrad and I hated it. And I was like, I don't know about grad school because of this
right.
right here, but you adjust. And so that's one difference to expect and think about. But other than that, I would say going to class is pretty similar experience, lecture, discussion,
Yeah.
just like in undergrad. I would say social life is very different. I feel like
Right.
undergrad, it's kind of like you gain a second family, if you're being social or joining clubs, like it's really focused on building relationships.
Mhm.
Graduate school, you can build relationships, but I don't know if it's prioritized as much as it is in undergrad. There's a lot more time spent working and even working independently, um, as well as, I wasn't engaged in a lot of research in undergrad, and I am engaged in a lot of research now in graduate school. So then you have to divide your time of work. It's like it's not just classwork; it's
Right.
research work as well. Um, and clinical work. So a lot of it is unpaid, but it's still important work. It's a part of the training. It's not like busy work, which sometimes I guess in undergrad it can feel just like, I'm just doing this to pass the class. I would say
Yeah.
grades aren't the central focus anymore. It's like I need to learn these skills to do this profession. Um, so I would say those are like I guess some of the major things. My day could be class and research. It could just be research. It could just be independent work. And then since I'm doing psychology and an applied field, I also see clients. So some like Wednesdays, I just see clients. That's all I do. So that's kind of the range of my days.
Okay. So now we're switching over to like some of your favorite parts of the graduate experience and your least favorite parts, if you do have any.
Yeah. Um, I think this is also just a part of being a student. Like being a student is such a excellent and privileged title, like because you get to get plugged into all of these different spaces, meet all of these renowned people, and hear about their experiences as well. And then you take from those stories and you can build your future from it. And I think like without having to worry just about like the day-to-day 9 to 5 style types of um, I guess lifestyle. So I feel like I'm constantly thinking about building my future. Um, and like homework and things can be annoying. It's not my favorite part, but compared to I guess already being into my career, it's kind of nice that I get to take a little bit more time to structure that, and learn and grow in those ways. Um, I like also just seeing what other people are doing, being able to get ideas. Because again, I think even outside of graduate school, like you don't really know until you know other people, what other people are doing, or you do a lot of research online. Like you don't know the possibilities. There's so many jobs out there. People create jobs. Like it's just very interesting to see like what is possible. Um, Other least favorite type of things aside from homework, especially with COVID, at times it can be a little bit isolating, a little bit um, mundane and routine. I'm just like, wake up, tired, gotta go here, gotta do that, you know. Um, but I guess that's kind of in a nutshell some of the highlights and the lowlights of where I'm at right now.
Thank you for that. Okay, so now the last question is just what is something that you wish you knew before you started your graduate school program, or what is a piece of advice that you would give to somebody considering a program like yours?
I would say like I definitely got pretty accurate information. So I would highly encourage anyone who's considering graduate school to spend time talking to a variety of people and asking the hard questions. So that way you don't have to suffer later. Like at least you'll know kind of what you're getting yourself into. Because I because I came in with that knowledge, I cannot imagine coming into this without having accurate interpretation of what the experience is like. I think it would be very, very difficult. And so it already is difficult having the knowledge, but I think it kind of allows me to coach myself in a way where I'm just like, look, this experience can be difficult, can be uncomfortable. And some of the ways I'm experiencing that now is just in getting different feedback. Like, I'm learning new things and getting new information. It's not just going to be like, yes, everything is good. Like everything is good. That's, because you've done quality work in the past to get you to this point, but there's still going to be new things that you have to adapt to. So yeah, I just think that's really, really important. I just constantly remind myself that every part of the program or every part of the experience isn't going to be fun or enjoyable. But reminding myself of like the purpose of it, why I'm doing it is really important. So I would ask people to or challenge people to consider that for themselves. Like don't do it just to do it.
Mhm.
Because you can do a lot of other things and school will always be there as well. I'm very much of the perspective that like we don't have to follow these random timelines. If I need to accomplish this by this age, like if you decide you want to go back to school and you're 40, like okay. That's totally fine. So I just think like readiness is key. And so I guess that's what I would say.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much.